Okay, all right. Good morning, Deb. Deb Cleveland is here with me today to talk about online communities as part of our Digital Learning Day activities with AEAPD Online. So welcome, Deb. So what is an online community?
So when we think about online communities, we're really talking about a place where educators can come together around a common interest or passion, and then through that interest, start to connect with each other. And some of those connections may be around sharing resources, they may be around asking questions and problem solving, they may be collaborating, things like that. But it's really a great space for them to connect with each other and hopefully even build some new knowledge around those things that they're interested in or passionate about.
Mm-hmm. So what makes it valuable for educators?
I think it's really the relationships that people build beyond just the resources. Because I think, we can go to Google and search whatever and do a huge Google search, and that's, you get what you get. But I think on top of that, an online community of practice has this relationship piece to it that keeps bringing people back because they start to get to know each other and develop that trust over time, and it really allows for a more invested participation than just a Google search for whatever you might be looking for.
Well, a lot of times also it helps people kind of combat that sense of distance between the closest other person who's teaching online is miles away. How do I connect with them? So the online gives them that opportunity.
We talk a lot about that isolation fact as well. In Iowa, we've got some very large districts, but then we have a lot of rural districts where the student population is smaller, and so there's a lot of teachers who teach in isolation. Like they may be the only teacher in their district who teaches chemistry. Mm-hmm. Or they may be the only teacher who does the foreign language course. So breaking out of that isolation is a really good point.
Mm-hmm. So recently, as a part of that online community that you have for people who are teaching online, there was a 28 Days of AllE event. Tell us a little bit about that.
Great. So AllE stands for Online Learning for Iowa Educators. And it is a group of people who either blend their instruction or teach fully online. And again, just like with the foreign language teacher that we talked about or the chemistry teacher, we found that there were some really deep pockets and people who were really passionate and interested in it, but they all weren't in the same place geographically. So they didn't have a place to come together to do this sort of discussion and collaboration. And so what we decided to do is build them an online community to do that. And try to help them kind of find those connections across the state of Iowa.
So this 28-day event, how did that help build that community?
Well, a couple of things in the process of developing this that we had to do. One, we had attended a lot of conferences face-to-face where we were hearing the buzz. We were hearing some questions that were coming up. People wanted to know about what quality online instruction is. They wanted to know about tools. They wanted to know things like that. So we had this idea. And to start with, we structured our community for them. But that wasn't enough. Because it's sort of like, you wish it was like the, Field of Dreams movie where people were like, if you build it, they'll come. But that's not always the case, especially when you're not geographically connected. So we decided to do a launch event with the 28 Days of AllE to really draw people into the community around that. So what we did is we structured, and we used the month of February, thus the 28 days, and we structured some activities for each day of the week for people to engage in. And they could choose. It was self-paced, so you didn't have to do all of them. And you could do it anytime, whenever you wanted throughout the day. And if you missed a day, you could go back and do it the next day, things like that. There were 4 key focus. We did one a week. One was, the first week was looking at how do you become an online community? So we spent some time looking at the tools that you would use, Twitter, the discussion forums within the community, some of the ways you can share resources in the community, and really talked about that. The second through 4th week then started getting into a little more about the content of the community. So we're going to take what we learned the first week, the tools that we talked about and looked at, and start applying those to the discussion around what is online learning. So that was week 2. Week 3 was quality online learning. What is that? And week 4 was focused on tools for online learning. And so throughout those 4 weeks, there were discussion forums, there were webinars, we had people annotating DIGO articles. And as people did this, they were able to earn things like badges and recognition. We had some door prizes that people were able to be entered for if they completed so many activities for their participation, and we had drawings for that. And then we really leveraged social media to let people know about that, to get people in the door and tried to build that sense of relationship.
So what kinds of social media venues did you use?
Twitter was our primary one. So we did a lot of tweeting. We had created some hashtags. Hashtag 28AllE was the one that we used a lot. And then we also had some connections with some other hashtags that were popular in the state. And so we leveraged those. And we would send out tweets probably a couple an hour about what was going on. So letting people know what was happening. Don't forget to post in this forum. We had one activity in the beginning when we were building sort of that awareness and relationship where people pinned their location on a map, and so that people could see where they were connecting with who across the state. And so we would tweet out, hey, it's so-and-so from Leftover Shoe has pinned their location, things like that. As we got farther in, if somebody made a comment in one of the discussion forums, we were sure to acknowledge that in the Twitter feed that we had put out, and let people know what they were saying and the types of conversations were going out there. We also participated in some ed chats, Twitter chats. Iowa has one, IA Ed Chat, that's pretty popular, and so we were attending those on Sunday nights and letting people know those things that were going on as well. And then, of course, towards the end of the week, as we had our sort of recognition and drawing, we let people know who'd gotten which badges, also who'd won the door prize for the week, things like that. And then we also have a tool that we used called IFT, which allows for some of those tweets to go to our Facebook page as well. So that was kind of a nice intermingling of everything. So that if you don't use Twitter but are on Facebook and follow us, you would get that same information. Okay.
So what's some next steps for that community?
I think we're going to continue to build out some activities, and our goal is sort of the idea of a gradual release. As an organization, we've put some foundational pieces in. We've tried to get people to participate and build some relationships. But over time, a community really is as strong as its members. And the beauty of it is they guide what happens in it. They decide the focus. They decide what they want to collaborate around. And so we're looking at how do we allow for that gradual release where we've got these structured events and they're coming to it to they're saying, hey, we need this. Who in the community can help? So we're looking at taking some of our key participants and getting some feedback from them on how can we grow that collaboration? How can we grow that sharing of resources? How can we grow the problem solving that happens in an online community and for the larger group? So I think that's one big next step and probably our primary goal. Because if it's just us giving them stuff, that's okay, but we really want them to develop that ownership. The second thing I would say is we will, in lieu of that, continue some smaller activities over the next year. For example, right now we're running a book club, the AllE Book Club, and we're focusing on The Relevant Educator, and by Tom Whitby and Stephen Anderson. And that's been really exciting because we've actually had Tom and Stephen participate in the discussion about the book. And so I know we have a lot of teacher leaders who are participating and have commented that they're finding some great ways to help their teachers that they work with become connected around that. And so I think we're going to continue some smaller events over the next 12 months to build that community, but again, really be searching for those ways to get the community to decide what's our next direction, what's our next focus, what do we need to collaborate on.
Okay. So if people want to find the community, where do they go?
They can just go here to our Moodle, moodle.aeak12online.org. All right. So you want to go to moodle.aeak12online.org, And when you get there, you'll be on the home page. And scroll down to, and you can see the AllE community right there. You can look at it as a guest, but if you want to actually join and participate, you would want to click right here on join the community. And the difference is guest, you can look at everything, versus when you're a member, you can actually post in the forums and do the different activities. So, but we're happy if you come and look, but definitely we're excited if you want to join.
So what kinds of things will people find there?
When you get there, you can see we've kind of got it structured into 3 big columns. The first category is resources, and there's where our announcements are. So we try to do about every week or so some announcements going on for what's happening in the community. You can see who's in the facilitators, and then you can see there's the K-12 resources. And one of the things that I really like is the Moodle Moments. We have some videos, a playlist of videos that you can actually go into and take a look at here and search for things that might help you in your online or blended classroom.
So it's just kind of short tips and tricks for using with Moodle.
Absolutely. It's just a great way to get those. And one of the things that comes up is sometimes people will post in the discussion forums, which is in the Collaborate community. Does anybody know how to do that? We can, as a facilitator or other people, we're happy to put those into that Moodle Moments playlist so that those are there once that question is answered for others. And things like that. We've got resources related to the standards for online teaching, and also SoftChalk Cloud, which is a lesson builder software that Iowa educators can access for free, and there's directions right there on the link for SoftChalk. When you move over, we have our collaboration piece, and we talk a lot about Digo, which is a social bookmarking and annotation tool that we use. And if you go there, you can see what we've been Digoing, and also you can actually, as a community, annotate right here on the right, the article of the month. Here, it looks like this one just got put up. Nope, there's some annotations there. And so anybody in the community who's part of the AllE Iowa community can participate and do some annotation around whatever that article happens to be focused on for the month. We have discussion forums, as I mentioned there. And right now, there's a lot of posting by myself with initial threads, but again, those are open to all participants to be able to go ahead and post in. We talked a little bit about the badges, and you can see here that there's a variety of different badges that people can access by completing different activities. They all kind of have a similar theme. And then those badges can be added to your signature on your emails. I know some people are putting them on their blogs, or if they're teaching online, they also post them in their classes. It's just a couple of ways to display those as you've gone through, as participants have gone through different activities. The last one is really the professional development opportunities, and I want to talk about how you break those down into 2 categories. There are the formal ones, which are credit bearing. So you can, through our community, if you look down here, there's the different cohorts, actually participate in some credit-bearing activities around blended learning in this case. And as we move forward, I know in the summer we're looking at another cohort, either looking at online lesson design possibly, or online technology for courses there. So there's a couple options there. I mentioned the book study right here, community book study, that you can also take a look at. And that would be an example then of what we would call the informal. So it's not credit bearing at this time, but there are some opportunities there. And finally, we talked about kind of a little bit ago that 28 days of AllE. And if you want to go back, you can click on this link and it'll show you all of the activities that happened during those 28 days. You could see about the 28 days. And for example, if you want to see what we did on day 1, gives you an overview. And again, as people want to, they can still go back and do these different activities that occurred and earn those badges to put on their things there. So we've got the resources, we've got some collaboration around Digo and discussion forums and Twitter, and then we've got our professional development, which are both formal and informal or credit-bearing or non-credit-bearing learning opportunities that we've got structured in the community.
All right. So anything else that you'd like to share about those 28 days in that online community?
I think the biggest thing is to think about how are you going to get people into your community, and really having to think about the time that it's going to take to invest to get that initial group. Once you've got it going, I think the excitement starts to build on itself, because I know we had a lot of people on Twitter commenting also about the 28 days and the community and really finding some value in it. So I think there's that initial time and commitment, and then you've got to start thinking about how do we build that gradual release so that it becomes really a product of the community, and structuring your plan for that around. I'm excited because I think this is our online community across the state for online teachers and blended learning teachers, but I think there's the opportunity for not just online but teaching, but also for English language learners communities, English teachers, math teachers, to have the same kind of opportunity to connect across the state with each other.
All right. Thanks, Deb.